flowed. So
are you a
naturally.
genius by any chance? That was excellent. Thank you so much. It's so kind of you.
I really hoped that was going to end with, and will you marry me?
Big fan, big fan.
You are a registered preacher, aren't you?
Yeah, I can do that.
We get married
Today, yeah.
Would you take me as your bride?
You said let's get weird.
I mean, we could send the Supreme Court right off the edge.
You're wearing white.
Could I borrow something blue from someone? Yeah. So,
Quick question.
yeah,
Gene Roddenberry, in my opinion, is one of the great visionaries of our time.
Let's just condense it slightly.
Can you tell us what it was like working with him? Tell us a little bit about working
with Gene Roddenberry?
Yes. Thank you.
It was like swimming in a rainbow with thousands of naked babies. To be brief, which with you I think I have to be. No, it was wonderful. I mean, you know, Gene Roddenberry cast me on the show, which we were the last cast that of Star Trek's that he actually had anything to do with, and he was, you know, I mean, Gene was a complicated man. He was many things, but he was a genius and he was a visionary, and he created the greatest American epic that's ever been, you know, invented, and I'm so glad I knew him. I could tell you some really unseemly stories, but I'm not going to do that. Well, there was this time where no. But he was a great guy. He really was. He was an interesting guy, very complex, and you know, when we first started doing the series, when we were first cast, everybody finally was set, all the characters were set, and we had a read-through of Encounter at Farpoint, which was the first episode, and we all met at the Universal Sheraton Hotel in a boardroom there, all sat around a big table, and we were reading the script, and Patrick came to a line. For the first time he mentioned my character's name, and he said, "Data. Were you?" And I went, "Wait, but I'm sorry. I thought it was Data." Seriously. When I auditioned, everybody said that we want you to play the character Data, and Patrick says, "Data. Were you?" And I said, "What is it? Is it Data or is it Data?" And we all looked at Gene, and Gene said, "Look, whoever says it first, that's what it is." And that became the rule of the series. Anytime, any name we said, whoever said it first, that's the way it was pronounced. So there you have it.
And that's why we will always remember and love Commander Ricker.
Exactly. That was played by Jonathan Frekes, right? Yeah. Hi there.
Hi.
Yeah, I do. What about us? Did you marry us? Everybody in the room. You know what? That's
Trickery, I think.
Polytrekker. That's legal in this country.
I agree.
Yes, ma'am.
So, 4 years ago, my boyfriend and I got together.
Oh, you already have a boyfriend.
Next question,
there's
please.
the polyamorous thing. Our first date was also a Star Trek movie because we both have Star Trek in common.
Mm-hmm.
You were brought into it because he has this beat since the movie where Data gets to swear when there's no swearing in any other Star Trek movies.
Right.
And he's walked out of the movie furious because where would he get that word? I'm not saying it because there's children in the audience or whatever.
He takes his Star Trek seriously.
Where?
He was furious.
He's like, where would he learn that word?
Right.
My answer is, well, it's in his database, not to be funny or whatever, it's in his database.
Right.
So I was wondering if there was like any internal struggle about, putting in a swear word in the movie, or how it came about, because he said there's one question I have for him.
Yes.
That was it.
That's it. Well, for me, it was in the script. And my job was to say the lines that were written. I didn't write any of the lines. Well, I wrote a tune. I wrote the Lifeforms tune. They wrote, and then I wrote, Brandon Braga and Ron Moore wrote that movie, and they wrote Lifeforms. This is what it said: Data sings, Lifeforms, you funny little Lifeforms, and that's all it said. And we got ready to shoot it, and the director said, "Okay, and let's rehearse it. Go ahead." Well, it just says Data sings. Sings what? And so he said, "We'll make something up." So I did. And I just last year started to claim royalties for that song. Because for years they got it free, Paramount Pictures, but they finally had to start paying me royalties. And I have received 37 cents so far, which is typical of the residuals I've gotten for the series, by the way. But that swear word, I saw it there and I was delighted.
Right. No internal struggle. No big deal.
Not at all. Well, I'll tell you, the only internal struggle I had was I knew your boyfriend was going to be upset. And I thought,
he swears. He just didn't comprehend it.
He didn't get it. He couldn't understand it.
No.
He understood the rest of the stuff I said, right? But he didn't understand that. You know what? I'll tell you where that actually evolved. Is telling you in the very first episode, single episode, Naked Now, that we did in season 1, when the doors closed with me and Tasha Yar, that was what she said.
That'll bring something to it.
You'll understand.
I will.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm glad you did not ruin yet another relationship through your swear words.
No. Good day, sir.
Hello.
Once again.
Yes.
All right. I never forget the face or a name. It's John, right?
Close enough.
Dan. Is it Dan?
No.
Okay. Chris? Is it Chris?
No.
What is it?
Connor.
Connor with one N, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I never forget.
Thank you. Thank you for remembering.
Of course.
But my question is, I'm curious to know how much of Data's mannerisms and characteristics and things like that. How much of that came from you, or how much of that came from like the writers and Gene Roddenberry and all that sort of thing? I'm curious to know how much input you had into who Data became.
It was my face. The mannerisms, they wrote the words, and I interpreted them, and so I kind of decided. And there were certain mannerisms like, I tell you what, I wore these contacts. They're horrible. I hated wearing them because they hurt, and I wore them for 16 hours a day, and that was the first thing I did in the morning when I got there was put in the contacts, and then Michael Westmore, genius makeup artist, did my makeup every day, and it was a regular base makeup and then powdered with gold powder, really packed into my face. And by about an hour after being there, the makeup was in my eyes and smeared over the contacts, and I couldn't see anything for the rest of the day. I mean, nothing clearly. It was all foggy the rest of the day. But as a result, when people would talk to me, when I was playing Data, I would look at them, and in order to see them, I would. So it informed the character, I mean, this horrible makeup and these terrible contacts actually created the character. The writers had nothing to do with that. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
It's Connor, right? Thank you, Tom.
I want to point out, though, you recently appeared wearing the shirt, your uniform shirt from the series, correct? At a convention.
Somebody brought, well, what they said was my uniform from the series that they had bought at some auction.
And you just put it on.
And I put it on because I wanted to see if it still fit.
Yeah.
It was a little baggy because I've trimmed down a bit since the series, but no, it still fit quite well.
You do realize you're not supposed to accept uniforms from strangers, right? You
No.
can't just start wearing them around.
You know, it's a funny thing. I asked when I finished doing the show if I could have a uniform because they had about 17 of them, and some were for stunt guys and extra, stand-ins and several for me. And they said, no, you can't have one. These belong to Paramount Pictures. And when we finished the first movie, we all agreed to meet. We finished the series. The last night of All Good Things, we agreed to meet at this restaurant that Jonathan knew the guy who ran the restaurant, and he said he's invited us to come over. And we all met there, and then Jonathan walked in his uniform, which he had stolen. I made the mistake of asking, and they said no. So I think one of the features, I can't remember which one, last day of shooting, I walked out in the uniform. So I do have one uniform. It's not one of the series uniforms, but I'm never really sure what people bought at these auctions. I did a convention in Las Vegas, and a guy came up to me with a visor. Do you remember the Christie's auction they had? It was a big auction of everything. Paramount, in their wisdom, decided to auction off everything from Star Trek. They could have opened a museum of all of that stuff, and it would still be paying for everything. It'd probably pay for their next films that they're making. But in their wisdom, they decided to just get rid of everything. So they gave it all to Christie's, and I guess they got a piece of it. But this gentleman came up to me at Las Vegas convention, and he had purchased, that was good. She had this enormous bubble came out of her mouth, and she's not even chewing gum. Anyway, the guy came up with a visor that I wore playing poker, and he said, "Would you mind signing this for me?" And I said, "Sure." And I took it. I said, "What'd you pay for this?" And he said, "Well, I got it for $9,000 at the auction." And I said, well, let me see. And I looked at it and I said, I'm happy to sign this for you, but this is not my visor. And he said, "What?" I said, "Well, I'll show you." And I tried to put it on, but it was about that much too wide on each side. And I said, "I couldn't have worn this." And it also had earpieces that wrapped around, and mine didn't. Mine were just straight. I said, "This could have been a prototype that they built, and I'm sure Paramount, prop guys built this, but this is not my visor. I never wore this. What did it say?" He said, "As worn by Brent Spiner." And I said, No, I never wore this, but if you want me to sign it." And he said, No. Next thing I know, I'm contacted by his attorney. He wanted to depose me because this guy was now suing Christie's and Paramount Pictures. And so I said, "Well, how much is he suing for?" And they said, he wants $1 million. And I went, "Well, for what?" And he goes, the stress. And I went, "Yeah, it must have been awful." And so I said, "No, if he was wanting his money back, I'd be happy to do it. But I think, if he proves to be as greedy as they are, I really don't want to do that." And as it turned out, the judge, it went to court, and the judge said, "You know what, it's ridiculous. Just give him his money back." And that's what they did. So everyone was happy. The judge is now wearing that visor.
Visorgate 2014, yes.
Hello, I'm Justin. Thank you for being here today.
Hey, Justin. Yeah, of course, Justin.
How's
Connor?
Honestly, you can call me anything you want, to be honest. Anyway, so after being on TNG for 7 years and doing the movies, what was your experience like coming back to Enterprise and doing the 3 episodes there, like, what was your experience coming back to the set and seeing it different?
It was great. I had a really good time. Rick Berman, who produced our show, and Deep Space Nine and Voyager and Enterprise, Rick did 800 and something episodes, produced 800 and something episodes of the show. He asked me if I would come do this 3-part episode, arc on Enterprise, and I read it, and I thought it was really interesting and a cool, 3 episodes, and also knew LeVar was going to direct one of them, and so I was happy with it. It was really fun, and plus that cast was really great. A lot of really cool people in that cast.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The casts of all the shows have been really great. I mean, if they got nothing else right, and they got several things right, but all of the casts were really top-notch. I mean, so many great actors in there, and guys I've known like Rene Aubergenois and Bob Picardo and Ethan Phillips and Jerry Ryan and Kate and all of them, just great actors. Yes, sir.
Hi, Ben. Again, thank you as well for being here today.
My pleasure.
So since technology is really advanced since the next generation started,
Yeah.
So hypothetically, if the next generation started today, how do you think technology, things like that, may have affected your character?
Could you open that for me? Thank you.
So he has his own private moderator that opens water bottles. That's how technology has advanced.
Thank you. I don't really want any. I just wanted you to open it. Thank you, Eric. Pardon me while I drink for a second. Maybe I should.
So starting bid at $9,000. You did say drink it.
What was your question? Something about technology.
So if the next generation started today,
Yeah.
Hypothetically with advances in technology, how do you think technology and other things like that would have affected the creation of your character's data?
How do I know? What do you think? I'm a scientist or something? I'm an actor. I can't imagine it could be any better than I already was. I wonder.